Jeff Sutherlin Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real. Hey everybody, Jeff Sutherlin and Chase Waldron on the Jeff Sutherlin Show. So good to see everybody today. I got a cool story I got to share real quick before we get to our guest. So I have this listing, over in Mesa, Arizona. I have a buyer call me this morning, real nice person. She calls me and she says, hey, can I come look at that house that you have listed? I'm like, of course, I would love to show you the house. And I said, is there anything you'd like to know about that house? And she had some questions about the roof and the HVAC, and I answered her questions. And I said, boy, I just can't wait to meet you. And I said, and if you want to sit down prior for me to kind of do a consultation with you so I can properly empower you and equip you so you can be an even better buyer, I'd be more than happy to do that. And she's just like, at the end of the conversation, she's like, I just have to say this. And I was thinking, oh goodness, what is she going to say? She goes, I just have to say this. You're like the best customer service I've ever gotten in this business. And she goes, most people I call, they don't even answer. And I'm like, oh, what is it? If you're a real estate agent, you got to answer the phone, man. It's like, Chase, what do you think about that? People don't even answer their phone. And then when they do, they're not even that nice. And she's like telling me, thank you so much for all your help. And I'm like thinking, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's crazy. You run into it a lot, man, trying to reach out, find some information on homes, and people aren't answering their phone. And I feel like it's in every industry, man. People are more getting apt to use the emails and texts rather than phone calls, man. But I don't know. I'm an old school phone call type of a guy. So I like people answering their phones.
Yeah, right. Well, awesome. Let's rock and roll. Today we have Gina Petershagen. Thank you, Gina. Thank you so much. And yeah, absolutely. And she is with Keller Williams. I love to have people from other companies on this show, to be honest with you, because we learn so much from each other. I do believe that a rising tide lifts the entire industry. So I like to bring in other people. And Gina has been in the business now celebrating her 10th year. So Gina, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about your journey. How'd you get to this place?
Thanks for having me. So, like you said, I'm starting into my 10th year. I started real estate in 2015. I'd always had a customer service background. I love people. I've just always been good with people. I only knew one realtor at the time, and our kids went to school together. And so I met with her and I'm like, I want to be like, I got to get out of the business that I'm in. I'm really curious and wanting to do real estate. And, she tried to talk to me out of it for probably a good half an hour. And I was like, listen, lady, whether I have your blessing or not, I'm going to do this because it's what I want to do. And by the time we got done, she was inviting me to come to her team. And I didn't know what a team was, but I'm like, cool, this is really exciting and fun. So I finished my schooling. I signed on with Keller Williams. And I hit the ground running. I was her buyer's agent. It was just her and I for at least 5 years. I think it was just her and I. And it we did really well. Then the team started growing. I became the head listing agent on the team. And then I would say, what year? It was right when I started fostering. So 2022, I started feeling a shift in myself and realized that maybe being on the team wasn't something I really wanted to do anymore. So in it was last year, 2024, I decided to exit the team and go out on, as a solo agent, still staying with Keller Williams, of course, but I've definitely liked the change. It was good for me, especially in this season of my life, not quite having all that hustle and bustle of being on a team, just being able to really drive myself and, doing what I needed to do for my business.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, sorry. So that's great. You mentioned something when you were working on getting into the business, Gina. You said that she was did you say that she was kind of almost talking you out of getting into it?
Yeah, because, real estate's hard. It's really hard. And, when you're sorry, I've got a kitten trying to join in. You don't really realize that, right? You're just like, I want to sell houses. I love houses. I love walking houses. I love working with buyers because I love going into houses. But I love people. I'm just a people person. So I was like, I can totally do this, but you have no clue what you're getting into until you're into it. And then you're like, oh, wow, okay, this really is hard. But I knew that time in my life that I wanted a change. Like I knew I did. And this was the right fit for my life.
Yeah.
And I was right, because here I am 10 years later. I mean, it went by like that. So
Yeah, 100%. That stuck out to me because when I was working on getting my license, I was talking to a lot of different brokers and different teams. And it seemed like every single person I talked to, it was kind of the same thing. They were almost trying to steer me away, like, hey, it's really hard. It's a lot of hours that you got to work and all this stuff, which, is true, right? I mean, nothing is ever easy, but yeah, I just thought it was kind of funny because almost every single person I talked to, it was kind of that way. You know what I mean? Very, very few were like, hey, listen, it's doable. You can do it. You know what I'm saying? And didn't really speak too highly of it, which is kind of interesting. So that
yeah,
stuck in.
It's kind of interesting. This is just my belief. I am absolutely living my best life right now because I feel like I'm in an industry where I can wake up every day and I can get a raise. I've been in corporate America. I've worked really, really long jobs and just over broke, job. And with this position, this career, I can make it whatever I want. And I love that, right? I don't want to ever have to be in a position where I'm doing the best I can and really crushing it for my employer, but then I get riffed or I get the hammer, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then you're in a pickle, right? And every day I get to wake up and go, you know what? I've got the possibilities. I can do whatever I set out to do. If my intention is strong enough, there's the kitty cat going across the screen.
he's trying.
That
He's
was
trying
great.
to get in on the action.
That was good. But if it's all about intention and if I'm clear on what I want in my life, I can get there. And for that, I absolutely get up every day and I pinch myself.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is true.
And then one other thing. So, Gina, you were talking about last year wanting to exit the team. So what kind of drove that decision on, starting to basically exit the team and do your own thing as a solo agent? What kind of drove that desire and how has that been? It sounds like you touched on it a little bit. It sounds like it's been going good. You're kind of driving your own way, without the hustle and bustle of the team. How has that been?
It's been a change. I mean, it has been, because I'm not as busy as I was running here, running there, going to this conference and that conference. What really got me to that decision, like I was saying before, I started fostering kittens, cats, in 2022. And at that point, I realized that was my passion, that helping these animals was what I was meant to do. And I knew I wanted to dive deeper into that and being more 50-50, being able to help the rescue as much as I could. But it was hard to do being on the team because I was always required to be doing something else. So that was a big push. And honestly, God gave me that blessing and that real big push, because unfortunately the team leader and I didn't have a very good falling out. So it's kind of like he had to make it that way to shut that door. So I had no way back. It was, you're not going back there. You have to move forward from this. And he's, I truly believe in God. I believe that he's blessing my business and my life throughout all of this. Since all of that, I'm a board member now to the rescue. My life is completely balanced. I mean, my family, I'm balanced with my family, I'm balanced with my business, and I'm balanced with the rescue. Some days I'm doing both. I've had to take a kitten to a signing. I mean, it just happened, just sat her in the corner. She just came out of the altar and I was like, she's asleep. I got to be here. And I had to be there, but we made it work. When I knew that, my calling was really in rescue with cats, I had a friend make a logo for me. So I'm the Crazy Cat Realtor. And I wanted to create that because all my friends called me the cat lady, right? So I was like, how can I incorporate both of these things together? Because I want people to remember that I'm a realtor, but everybody knows I'm a cat lady. Like I get a lot of videos every day, or I get tagged and Gina, can you help this cat or this cat, so they know me as both. So once I did that, everything just kind of started falling into place, really, and again, that was God just saying, here you go. Like, I've got you and you need to do this. And here I am.
Wow. So isn't it cool though to be able to marry your big why with what you're doing and have them combine like that? And I just think that's so cool. I wish I would have brought kittens to the closing table like around 2006 and 7 and 8 and 9 when sellers were so upset and crying, because they were losing their homes. Maybe having a kitten there would have made it a little easier, on them, a little more therapeutic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But seriously, the fostering of cats, right? Tell me, how does that fulfill you? And tell us a little bit more about that agency in general, could you please?
Yeah. So I foster for the rescue's called Grateful Hearts Animal Rescue. Sorry, he jumped off the table. I actually met the owner in 2021. There were kittens in my neighborhood. And there was only one person I knew at that time that was in rescue, and she actually happened to be a past client. And her and I just had this conversation today. It's like been full circle. And it's one of those things where everything happens for a reason. So when I was working with her, she was wanting to buy a house with a pool. Well, it ended up not ever happening. She kept her home and she put a pool in. Well, but during that time, she told me she was in rescue. So when I found these kittens, she was the first person for me to call. And she connected me with the rescue that I'm fostering for now. So, from that today, I thanked her. I'm like, because you gave me that information, it changed my life. It totally changed my life, because caring for these kittens and cats, it's it's fulfilling, because that you're saving their life. If there weren't fosters, these kitties would still be on the street. I mean, I just took in a litter of 7. Actually, I only have one left from that litter, but they were born outside. They were 5 weeks old when I got them. In this heat, these poor cats and babies, it's hard on them. They die. So being able to have a room in my home, my daughter had moved out. And I mean, I'm kidding you not, within 2 months after my daughter moved out, this is how fast it started working. Like, it just happened. A friend calls and said, I just found this kitten in a tree. And the next thing you know, I've got 3 in this room, and it's been nonstop. I don't think in the last 3 years that this room has been empty longer than 3 days. I mean, it's a turnaround. I mean, I foster at least anywhere from 30 to 40 kittens or cats a year. So right now I have 3 kittens in the kitten room, 2 kitties that were surrendered and owner surrendered back to the rescue. She had nowhere else to put them. So I was like, I volunteered my son's room. So he's got 2 kitties in his room right now. And then we have a kitten with, she's got wobbly cat syndrome. So she's about 10, 11 weeks old now. And she's in a big X pen in my living room. Hence why I have a scratch on my head, because I miscalculated when I was climbing out of it and banged my head on it. So, but there's something about, I start my day in this room, in the kitten room. I feed them, I clean their litter boxes. I get to, play with them. I pet them. They greet me. They come purring. And then at night, it's like my unwind time. It's my Zen time. I can come in here and just sit in the floor with them, play with them. And I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just in here to love on them. And it's awesome. I love it.
I think we should entitle this podcast The Cat Lady.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's amazing. So on any given day, is it around, like, I guess, what's the most amount of cats that you have had at your home at one time, would you say?
Shoot, that's a good question, because I think 7, 8, 9, I think I had 10, maybe 10 fosters at one time. I mean, we try not to do, like, that litter of 7 was actually the biggest litter I'd ever had in the last 3 years. Like, that was the biggest litter. And that was, trying to socialize everyone. I mean, because that's a big part of it too. You might get kittens that come in at 8 or 9 weeks and they're sassy, and I have to socialize them and get them used to humans. So it's a lot of work. Or kittens that are sick, come in with ringworm. I've had ringworm so many times. I've got scars on my arms. I should be immune to it by now.
Really?
That's just part of it.
Yeah.
I have 10 cats of my own. Had 3 when I started fostering. Okay, so I've foster failed quite a few times.
Wow.
I can't help it. And it's not on me. My husband has wanted to keep a few too. And thankfully we have a big enough home that we can house that many. But we're done. I was like, I don't care how bad I ugly cry, how bad it hurts. I am not keeping any more because 10 is enough. Crazy. But they're all loved and they love us and they get along really well. So we're blessed in that.
Yeah, that's good. And so how do you go about finding people to basically, I guess, how do you go about finding people that are wanting cats, that want to take these cats in? How do you go about finding those people?
Yeah, so the rescue has a website and they also, she has a pretty big following on social media. And then as the kittens grow in and they've been completely vetted, they go on to other sites. So there's a site called Pet Finder. So she'll post their pictures on there and a little bio of them. And then they go, of course, on the rescues page as well. A lot of times it's previous adopters that come forward. And then all of us fosters, of course, we use the power of social media to, as my daughter would call it, deal cats. She calls me the cat dealer. A lot of my friends and family have adopted from the rescue because of that, because I post them constantly, videos or cute pictures of them saying, here's, if you need a smile today, here's some cute pictures of kittens. Amy is the owner of the rescue. She's awesome. She doesn't just adopt to anybody, though. There's a vetting process for this. So there's an application. There's certain questions that are red flags that if they answer yes to, that she's like, nope, sorry, you're done. But she'll do a background check. She Facebook stalks even just to make sure that they're not some crazy person, that are wanting them to feed their snake. She wants to make sure that these are good people that are adopting these kitties, So she does a really good job with it. You can't obviously expect what's going to happen a year from now. I mean, like I said, when we get surrenders coming back, it breaks our heart for that to happen. And it's upsetting because in my mind, once you adopt, whether it's a cat, dog, whatever kind of animal you adopt, like once you have them, they're part of your family, regardless. You got to figure it out.
So if you're joining us, we're hosting Gina Petershagen, AKA the cat lady or the cat dealer. If you like cats, this is the podcast for you. I think this is a fascinating conversation because I know as agents, not just real estate agents, but any industry, you have to have things that you enjoy doing, right? That you're doing as a project or something that really moves your heart. Like one of the things I'm working on right now is I'm learning Italian. Kind of excited about it. And I'm learning how to play guitar. Now, Chase already plays a mean guitar. The guy's like, he's amazing, Van Halen type of guitarist, but I'm just a novice. So, but these are giving me joy at night. Like you said, I start my day off. I have some good rhythms in the morning, and in the evening I have a lot of fun. So I'm really happy for you that you have something you can have a lot of joy in. And not only that, Gina, you told me you actually adopted a child. Is that correct?
I did. Yep, I did.
Okay. Did you share that process?
Yes. So it started in 2016. The child I adopted actually is a family member's son, my cousin's son. So he was born in 2015. In 2016, they had run into some hard times. And my husband and I he had just lost his mom. She was living with us at the time. So we had this room. And, and our hearts were like, well, we want to help them. So we let them move in with us. So it was my cousin, his wife, and the baby. We got really attached to him, really attached. And we ended up having to kick my cousin out of the house probably a month after that because he was using drugs. And I was like, you can't be in my home. Like that's not happening. And we told the wife, we were like, listen, if you're, we knew that she wasn't using. And we said, but, if you want to stay here, you can stay here, but these are the ground rules. You have to get a job. You have to help out around here. And she did. She went out and she got a job. She was doing things, but then she also had this sense of freedom where she would just take off. So we had the baby all the time. Well, about 6 months after that, she just up and left and moved out, took the baby with, and we didn't hear from him until about a year later. So this was 2018 by now. And same scenario. Came forward and says, we're on hard times. Can you help us out? And my husband and I both said, we will only take Magnus. We can't have the two of you come. And they said, okay, yeah, that's fine. Just for the weekend so we can get our ducks in a row. And so I picked him up on Friday. It was the cutest thing because he walked straight in our door and he's 3. Okay. By this time he walked straight in the door and he says, I'm back. Like, how does he know it? He was 2 when he left, but at 3 years old, he remembered my home.
Wow.
So when that Sunday came around, they had called me and said, this is really hard for us, but can you keep him for a month? I said, okay, yeah, I'll keep him for a month. And then they went MIA for 6 months. They disappeared. So we kind of we had to take matters into our own hands at that point. We went to court the day after Christmas. There was a judge there. And we said, look, this is the situation. So he granted us emergency guardianship. And then we had to return again in 6 months. And literally on that 6-month day, we were walking into the courthouse. And all of a sudden I get a text message from my cousin. And I was like, that timing was a little weird. So after that, we just knew they were both at this point on drugs. They were homeless. We just knew that things weren't going to change, and Magnus deserved more than that. I mean, had we not intervened, he would probably have went into the foster system or had been homeless himself with them. Who knows what could have happened. So we just decided at that time that we were going to go to court and start the adoption process. But what started with that was having to sever their rights. So we started with that first. They never showed up to any of the court, but would call me and harass me about it, but never showed up. So the severance actually, they made it super easy. And that aspect, and the court side, everything was really easy because they never showed up. And so once their rights were severed, it took about another year. We had to have someone come in and check our home and all that kind of stuff. The rest of the family had to get fingerprint cards. I already had one since, my real estate. Had that part checked off. We passed all that. And in this is horrible. I should know this date. 21, because we still had to wear masks in court. It was our actual, because he was 6 years old, was our adoption. So since then, he's, like I said, he's been with us since he was 3 years old. He doesn't really have memories of his parents anymore. He knows their names. He knows what his previous last name was, but he's a really cool kid. He really is. And he adjusted so well. Even the day I went and picked him up from them, he cried for a minute. And I just said, I heard that you like robots. And that was it. He stopped crying, never cried for them again. Even when we had to have I had to have supervised visitations with them. The court said, if they want to visit him, you have to do it. Like when we were through all of that stuff, and okay. But he would always be really good when I'd say, okay, it's time to go. He'd say, okay, well, bye. And he called them by their first names. He didn't even call them mom and dad. So yeah, he's a cool kid. He's 10 years old now, adjusted well. I'm mom, my husband's dad, my other kids are his siblings. So he's part of the family. One thing we tease him about though is we're short. My husband's short. I'm short. All the other older kids are short. Magnus's biological father is over 6 foot and his mother was like 5'10". So he's estimated to be somewhere around 6 foot or taller. And I said, he's breaking the mold for Petershagens because now he's going to be the tallest one. So he takes pride in that. I'm going to be the tallest Petershagen.
I love it. I have to basically say thank you for your giving heart, because I can tell you live that kind of a life, through the kittens, through your adopted child. It's like thank you, for everything you're doing, and you're trying to balance all that with your real estate career. And that's challenging. How do you do that, by the way? How do you balance all this and still be successful? Because you're a very strong producer. What's your secret?
I keep my calendar nice and neat. I make sure that, when I'm scheduling things, I could tell you one thing about myself. I don't like to get overwhelmed, and I get overwhelmed very easily. So I have to schedule things that fit in. So, I drop Magnus off at school. I'm home by 8 a.m. I work out, and then it's shower, and then it's okay. What appointment did I have today? And which I've already looked at, the night before, the morning when I wake up. Go to that appointment, do what I have to do. I really try hard not to overbook myself every day. So I do my best to keep all of my appointments within the time that he's in school. Most of the time, I'm pretty successful with that. If it needs to be an evening one, so be it. I work weekends. I just have a good balance. I really don't know how to explain that. I keep everything on my calendar, and my time is sacred to me. So I make sure that when I'm in control of when I'm making, when I'm setting those appointments, not to overwhelm myself. Because when something does come up, it's a bad trait. I freak out about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do it. Like, but I'm like, just calm down and get it done. And once I'm in the car and I'm going, I'm like, okay, it's fine. But I don't like I don't like being taken by surprise by stuff. And I know in our business, like if a buyer calls and says they want to go and see a house, like you get in the car and you go, you do that.
Yep.
And I do. I might be griping about it under my breath when I have to leave the house when I wasn't expecting to. But by the time I get there, I'm fine and I'm smiles and I'm happy to be there with them, But maybe I shouldn't have shared that about myself, but that's me.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I really feel I've just found a way to balance it all. And I don't really know how much more of that I can share other than my calendar is my best friend. I write everything on it. I'm old fashioned. It's a big white one, sits on my desk. I don't put anything in Google. And maybe that's a fault, but my paper calendar works for me. I can look at my week when I'm making appointments. I'm sitting at my desk when I do it. So I take that control there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it works, right? You got to do what works.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like we see a lot, or we talk to a lot of people that have trouble kind of time blocking and keeping their calendar and doing a good job of, tracking everything in their calendar to make sure that they stay organized and on track with everything. Would that be kind of would that be your advice to agents to basically say, hey, the calendar is the most important thing. Make sure you have it all tracked and stick to the calendar? Because, a lot of people, we talk to a lot of agents who are out there struggling right now, right? They say it's a tougher market than maybe past years. What would that be your advice to those agents?
Yes. Keep a routine. Routine is so important. Like I said, I get up in the morning. I mean, literally coffee in hand at 4:30. I'm starting my chores at 5:30. I'm waking my son up at 6:30. We leave the house at 7:30. I'm home at 8. I'm working out. Then I'm showering and I'm getting ready for my next appointment if I have an appointment that day. Some days I don't. And that's where I think coming off the team, I sometimes feel guilty about because I'll have a down day. But then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to sit here and do lead gen, right? I mean, what else? What if you have a down day, do your lead gen. But then again, I'm there at 3:00 to pick him up. By 4:00, I'm cooking dinner. By 5:00, 5:30, I'm back in the kitten room taking care of my chores again. My life is very structured and I have to write everything down. So it all goes on my calendar, even the days that I'm going to work out, because either I'm riding my indoor bike in the summer because it's too hot to walk, but typically I'm a walker. I've been doing it for like 7 years. I'll go out every morning and take a 1.5 mile, 2 mile walk. 2.5. Oh my gosh, 1.5 to 2 miles I'll walk. But it's too hot to do that now. So I bought myself an exercise bike. So either I'm doing that or I'm using my weights and doing like Pilates, and I write it down. Okay, you've got to do it on these days, because if it's not on there, I'll find a way to not want to do it.
For sure.
So,
And just being consistent, right? Like you said, you got to do it every day, and I think people have a problem with that too, is just, like with the lead gen stuff, do it every day, do your routine every single day, reach out and build relationships every single day.
well, I think that's the most important part of our business is building relationships. I don't consider lead gen work because I'm just talking to the people that I know already. How is life?
Right.
What are you doing? Like, not who's buying or selling. Who do you know? Like, I'm not that person. I'm not that salesperson. Like, I know that's our job, but I'm there to guide and help, not to be like, oh, you need to buy this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what I teach everybody in my organization. I tell them you have to reframe those words, lead generation. I don't even call it that. I say, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to love people deeply. I'm going to care for them. I'm going to connect with them and their families. I want to get to know everything I can about every one of those families in my database, detached from the outcome, attached to caring for them. And that makes it a whole nother thing. That makes it a thing I get excited about. And most people go into that lead gen time. They're like, I hate lead generation. Well, yeah, if that's what you think it is, you're going to hate it. But I don't think it's that, and I reframe the whole thing.
I do a lot of posting on social media. If I've got something on it, going on in real estate, whatever it might be, I was at an inspection, or when I'm up north because I service Central Arizona. So I take pictures of pretty trees or the elk or the deer or whatever. And So I do that subtle reminder. I'm in real estate. I'm here. And, people just reach out. I mean, and even from like the rescue part of it, I've had, have a listing coming at the beginning of the year. She's a person that's really big in rescue too. And I can't say her name or anything like that because nobody knows yet that she's leaving us. But she reached out to me and she's like, I want you to come over. I want you to sell my house. I never once said outly to her that I was a realtor. She just knew from social media, but then knows that I'm in rescue and she knows my heart and she wanted to work with me. And I want to work with her because she has that same heart.
Yeah, you have a good heart. There's no doubt. One thing that the audience should also know about you, this is really cool story, but her daughter's about ready to get married. And so the officiant, and I can really relate to this because I officiate weddings. In fact, I'm going to officiate Chase's wedding next year. Gina's daughter's officiant quit, flew the coop, recently. This is after months and months and months of planning this wedding, right? Could you imagine that? Talk about putting some stress on the bride. So Gina jumps in and gets ordained, right? Is that what happened, Gina?
Yep. She called me one night and she's like, "You're not going to believe this." And I was like, "What?" She's like, I won't say her name out loud, but she quit. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? I've known this woman for 20 years. And she just kept saying to my daughter, "Well, I was doing this as a favor to your mom." And I'm like, that's not what this is about. So I was very frustrated. And the girls, Bailey, my daughter, she was very frustrated. And I was like, well, I'll figure something out. I'm sure I know other people that are ordained. And then I started and they're like, "Well, Mom, why don't you just get ordained?" And I was like, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. Well, yeah, I could. It was actually a lot easier than I expected it to.
It is in Arizona.
Yes. I was like, really? That's it? And my certificate came, my clergy little badge came, and we wrote our script last night. I mean, I had some examples, obviously, but we kind of rewrote them a little bit to make it match their wedding. So yeah, I'm going to marry my daughter. And we have kept it a secret from, there's very few people of our friends and family that know I'm doing it. We're kind of wanting it just to be like a surprise. We walk her down the aisle and then I walk up to the podium and turn around and say, "Hi, I'm doing this." And, let it be a surprise shocker for everybody. We kind of get a little giggle out of that. So,
wow. So Gina Petershagen, cat lady, cat dealer, officiant of weddings, now of her daughter, adopted a child. What an amazing person. I'm going to give you the last word, Gina. Anything you want to share? We have a lot of realtors that watch us across the nation. Anything you'd like to share about, your success or anything to inspire the folks that watch this show?
Just work hard and keep your head up. Do the things that, we're supposed to do. Hold that open house. Be kind to people. Even though you might be doing that activity and you don't get something from it, something will come from it. The universe or God always answers. There's always somebody out there. Don't stress, but you do have to put in, you have to put in work. You have to, and just find, what you like the most and get really good at it. I'm really good with people and relationships. And that's really my business is 100% referral based. And that's how I work. Not, I do less transactions now than when I was on the team, but I'm okay with that because again, it fits my lifestyle, but I'm still a capper in the office. I'm doing well. So it's a nice life for me. And I work in Central AZ. So Happy Jack, Payson, all those areas.
Well, you read my mind. That's how I was going to end it. I was going to say, how can people get a hold of you, Gina? Give them your information.
All right. Well, so you can Google me. It's Gina Petershagen, the Crazy Cat Realtor. You'll find me there. And then as far as the areas I service, I typically try and keep to East Valley, Chandler, Gilbert, Santan Valley, Mesa, Queen Creek, those areas, Pinal County. But then I also work up in Central Arizona. So from Happy Jack, make the U all the way to Heber-Overgaard, I do everything in between. Have a listing active up there right now, meeting with buyers this weekend. It's kind of fun because while we're slow down here in the valley because it's so hot, nobody wants to move. Everybody's wanting to move up north. So I get this cool roller coaster of, okay, well, I'm slow down here, I'm busy up there. And then it just kind of goes like this. It's nice. I like it.
It's been a real pleasure. Yeah, that's fantastic. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show, Gina. And here's a great example. Everyone that's listening is somebody that's doing some things in the community and leads with their heart. And I just appreciate you for being on the show. Thanks for everybody that's always listening to us. We're now up to almost 1,000 subscribers. It's very exciting, and only been doing this for like 6 months. So I just appreciate all the support that everybody's given us. And for Gina, Chase, and myself, we're going to sign off and wish you guys a great, great day.